Hey there, this is Therese Skelly, and I am so excited that you are going to be listening to an episode of the Fiercely Brilliant podcast. Do you like those two words? Fiercely Brilliant. My hypothesis is that you are here for a reason. We all are. Our souls have led us on journeys that have very often taken some twists and turns, and sometimes it's not pretty. Sometimes there's struggle and there's loss and there's challenge, and in the middle of that, there's always a way out. And it's those times that often lead us into our great life and work. So you're going to hear stories in these episodes of myself and other beautiful people that share the journey. They share how they got to the place where they're standing, working in their brilliance, and being the powerful leaders that they are. So stay tuned and enjoy this episode. Hey, this is Therese Skelly with another episode of the Fiercely Brilliant podcast, and I'm delighted today to have Malaine Leah Butler with us. Mm-hmm. You are going to really enjoy her story of basically overcoming, right? You will not believe where she is today and where she came from. So let's talk, Malaine. First of all, welcome all the way from New Zealand, right?
Yes, all the way from New Zealand. I don't have a New Zealand accent, you guys, as I was telling Therese. I am originally from the States, but I reside in New Zealand now. But I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me on to share my story and hopefully inspire some people and give them some hope to create a new reality for themselves.
That's the goal. So tell us what you do today, Malaine.
So I am a transformational business coach, I like to say. Mm-hmm. And basically what I help support female entrepreneurs in doing is to transform their business so that they can prioritize a life that they love, family, the things that really matter most, and have the business fit around that.
Right, support that.
And create, yeah, exactly. And really support that and create the financial freedom and the lifestyle freedom that they crave.
Because how many of us have gotten that wrong, right?
Yeah.
That's Yeah. Good. Well, I know you're very successful. You got a lot of awesome things in place.
Yeah.
But this is relatively new, right? You've been in business for how long now?
8 years, which I still feel like it's
like
baby phase,
It's not even, it's actually not, but I mean, it's like for where you are, it's like, you got a lot of developed. So how did you, and you didn't start out like, I'm a transformational business coach. Like you had an experience that led you there. So why don't we start there?
Yeah, totally. If we had talked about this 8 years ago, I literally would have been like, who are you? Not where I'm going. What? Like a business coach? That is so weird. That's so far online. Like all of that would have been so foreign to me. Wow. Personal development would have been foreign to me only 9 years ago, and
wow.
And that was because for me, I was really in the grips of addiction. And particularly the one I like to say brought me to my knees, if you will, was my bulimia. And it was something that kept me in, a life of secrecy and lies and never really feeling truly connected to anyone in the world, because there was always that layer of like, well, I can't really tell you who I am, or I can't really tell you my struggles, or I can't really tell you the pain that I'm experiencing, because if I do, then you'll know this thing that I'm doing right now, my bulimia, and then you might make me stop. And I don't know if I can, I don't know if I want to.
Wow. I was thinking you were going to say, because there's a lot of shame wrapped around with an eating disorder.
And shame.
But it's like, don't intervene. This is
but like, I don't, like as soon as there was a few people over the years that would pick up on it, and say, something's wrong. Can I help you? How can I support you? And I'd be like, no, I'm fine. And I would just cut them out of my life because I didn't have the willingness to want to live a different life in that moment, because I didn't know anything different. Sure. And I just kind of thought, well, this might be it. And maybe this is how I'll die. I really didn't have much hope of a different reality. Yeah. And I didn't have any different reality available to me that I saw. Like there was no other paradigm that I could access because I didn't see it. It's like being at a buffet table and I was missing out on like all the options except for one. I thought that this was the only option I had. and maybe I'd be
Wow.
doomed for the rest of my life.
So let me ask you, I was a therapist, and I worked on
Yeah.
addiction, so it's kind of a
Mm.
thing. Usually addiction or an eating disorder
Yeah.
serves a purpose, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think the purpose was that the bulimia was gifting you?
I think the gift that I believed it was giving me was a facade of this beautiful appearance, this appearance
Oh.
of being very thin and
Mm-hmm.
having the exact body that I wanted and the exact hair and the exact, and figure and appearance, and that perfect facade was
Mm-hmm.
so ingrained in me since childhood
Mm-hmm.
to perform and to be this
Mm-hmm.
perfect
Sure.
little person. And then if I did that just the right way, then I would land the perfect husband and have the husband that
Wow.
provided and took care of me. And then I could just, obey and fall in line and be the perfect little. And what was really funny about that is that I'm such a fiery
Yes,
personality.
I'm sort of like, what? The little obedient housewife. Like, what?
Yeah.
What? Is
Yeah.
that funny?
So it
But
was
that's
like this,
archetype.
these
But that's
conflicting. Yeah.
we inherit that shit, right? Like, oh,
Yeah.
yay. But I think a lot of women, maybe they're not having a bulimia, but they buy into there's a way you have to look. There's a way you have to present.
Yeah.
Like, that's valuable. This is not. So
Yeah.
we'll finish the story. So you were doing bulimia, bulimia. Bulimia was doing you, actually.
Yeah, bulimia was like doing me.
You're his little bitch, basically, right?
Yeah, basically.
So I'm assuming you got recovery, right? So what happened? Because that's an important part of the journey, the most important part.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a really important part. I think what should be noted is that I really had a supportive community around me that kept showing up and just saying, like, we're here.
Wow. So people knew about it then.
People started to know. Yeah. Because it was like, I was also just blatant with it. Like there were points where I wasn't like really trying to hide it, like I would just do it when I wanted to. Cause it was almost like I had this arrogance about it. And I also was like, I felt like I had a shield around me. Like I was Invisible Woman. Like no one could see the secret that I had. And my parents knew, and some of my loved ones knew. And my father was really adamant, like, when you're ready, we're here. We love you. We're ready to support you. And I just kept praying every night. My prayer was like, God, if there is a God, just give me the willingness to get better. Just give me the willingness to get better.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you didn't hit a bottom like a lot of people do. Like, or did you? I don't know. Because
I feel like I kept hitting bottoms.
Okay.
Like I remember there was a story in recovery that I heard. It was like, I just put the shovel down because I kept digging for my next bottom. And it was like, like there was so many humiliating, embarrassing moments that I had, because with bulimia, you're not eating. So then anytime I drank, it would make me completely plastered. Because like, you're not eating anything.
Right.
And it was so there was so many humiliating moments that I had.
Got it.
So I just decided, there's got to be a moment where I put this shovel down, and I just kept praying for the willingness. And I started going to therapy. I was willing to talk to someone about it. And she had suggested, well, why don't you go to a 12-step meeting? Why don't you go to a recovery, where there's other women that struggle like you, so that maybe you could relate. That might be supportive. And I thought, no one struggles like me. No one knows what I'm going through. It's a very like,
we're all unique, right? Yeah.
Woe is me. And then one day I had the willingness to make that phone call and find out when one meeting is. And I said, I'll go to one meeting and I'll check it out. And I was just a blubbering mess that whole meeting. Yeah. And my dad actually walked in with me. He was so supportive, walked in with me, sat next to me the whole time. And I was just sobbing. And I remember a woman came up to me at the end of the meeting and she said, I just wanted to apologize to you. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, when you walked in, I was like, why is she here? right? Because she said you
look
were
perfect,
dressed so beautifully, and you had these beautiful boots and this hem, and you just look so perfect. And I thought what she got a problem with.
right?
And then when I heard you share, I realized that you're just like me, and that we have the same insides. Our outsides might look different, but our insides are similar. And I was like, oh, so she's like, keep coming back,
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah, it was really powerful. And that was the first day. That was March of 2013. That was the first day that I decided, just for today, I'm not going to binge and purge. Yeah. And that was the beginning of the end.
I love this story, because if somebody would have told you, it's possible to love yourself, not worry about your body, you would have been like, are you nuts?
Yeah.
And all you had to do is say, I'm willing to be willing. Like, I'm just like a little tiny. So what dropped in your head? Because I think there are a lot of people facing stuff, and it's like, I don't know what to do. So what dropped it in your head, that obviously God or spirit or divine, whatever you call it, but talk about that. Because I think that's such an important thing.
Yeah. I had a moment where it felt like a kind of a white light moment or experience. I was raised Catholic. And then for a long time, I was like, all the curse words in the book. I was like, I hate God. God doesn't know what I'm going through. And I had this moment where I literally heard God, and God was like, get on your knees and pray. Whoa. And I just was like praying. And it was, I think, a couple days after that meeting. And I was just praying. And God was like, I will lift this for you. But you have to be of service and listen to me. That's the voice I heard. If you're of service and listen to my voice, I will lift this obsession from you. And I was like, I have chills as I'm saying it. And I was like, well, fuck, I have nothing to lose. My life sucks right now. I hate the way I'm living. So I guess I'll listen to this voice.
Yeah.
Nothing else is serving me. Nothing else is working.
Wow.
And so it was like, Therese, it was like, well, my life isn't great. Yeah. I don't have anything that I desire. And what I really desire deeply is to be loved. And I don't feel like I have that or the ability to let people in. So why not just try something new? Yeah.
From a person who was kind of a non-believer, if you're swearing at God, to then even allow yourself to listen, that to me was grace. Because a lot of other people are like, yeah, whatever, that's just shit, I'm on here. That moment of grace where you're like, all right. So then what happened? Because then I know you got on your own transformational journey.
Yeah. Yeah. So then I started going, then I got really committed. And I think what's really great about one of my, I like to say, flaws maybe, or things that isn't great about me that also makes me great about me, and I think everyone has this too.
Absolutely.
Is that I'm very stubborn. And so I just got on this well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to go all the way in, and I'm going to do it right. And I'm going to be perfect about it. But it was great because that energy that I had used for years to channel into the bulimia, I was now channeling into something that was actually supporting and serving me. And so I kind of flipped and focused as much as I could on, I went to as many meetings and as much therapy, and I just put all my energy and attention into getting better. I said, I'm not going to date for this year. I'm just going to focus on me, because all I ever wanted was the relationship and the children and being loved and all of that. And I thought, well, if I don't take care of me and fix me, well, not that I was broken, because no one's broken, right?
But you felt broken. You probably were feeling
I felt broken. Yeah. And if I don't take care of that and allow myself to feel whole again, how can I expect anyone else to treat me like I'm whole? And all the relationships I had, I was attracting people that were treating me the way I was treating me.
Certainly.
It wasn't
100%.
nice.
Yeah. Wow.
And so I just focused on that. And I met an amazing woman who became one of my first mentors. And she said to me, there's something special about you. She's like, there's something special about everyone, but you in particular, every time I see you, there's this white light that just follows you around. And I was like, I was like, okay. I'm like, okay. And she said, listen, there's this workshop that I think you'd be amazing. It like, you're already amazing, but it will make you even more amazing. Would you be willing to do it? And I had all my reasons and excuses, and she kept dropping hints for a few months. And eventually, long story short, I did it. And that journey led me to a very popular kind of transformational workshop that's run by various companies across America and globally as well. And so I went through the basic, advanced, and leadership journey of that. And when I completed, I was like, this is what I want to do. I feel so at home here.
Yeah, you found it.
You know? And it was like, it just clicked. And so I started volunteering there and spending my time there and working close with the trainers and training to become a trainer. And eventually, about a year into all of that, they hired me. They asked me, come work for us.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where I started my, personal development coaching world journey, if you will. And I was there for a little while, and then I started my own company.
Wow.
So yeah, it was pretty wild.
That's amazing. So, like when I heard the beginning part was a woman who didn't value herself.
Yeah.
And was striving for the perfect, the externals.
Yeah.
And so sometimes people can get recovery, but I think that piece, that self-love, that self-identity, sometimes it's a little bit slower. You can be sober in your body or clean, but your mind might still be. So if anybody, and again, you don't have to have had bulimia or addiction, but you might have been able to relate to Malaine, like, gosh, if I only can have that, then I'll be lovable.
Totally.
And so how do you help people? Like, what are some things that we could gift them today? Like, here's how to get out of that external validation and shift it.
Yeah, well, I think something to be said about that, Therese, is that it's when we make anything else an idol other than our divine power, whatever we like to call that, higher power, universe, source, whatever relationship that becomes for you. I think that's such an important relationship to find, to hone in on, and to develop, because that's what has saved me and given me grace through, I'd love to say like, and then my bulimia journey ended and my life was perfect. Everything worked out and everything I wanted was handed to me. But, I've still had challenges along the journey. And I'm so grateful that all those years ago, nearly 10 years ago, I developed a relationship with who I choose to call God. And that's really given me the support that I needed. And anytime I put my attention, or I start to obsess, or, quote unquote, become addicted to something else, whether it's like social media, scrolling, checking my email, obsessing over clothes, whatever, it can be anything, anything can become something that I start to idolize. I'm like, well, that's not going to help me. Like is this serving me? That's not going to serve me. So I'd say for anyone listening in, it's like, just asking for the willingness or praying for the willingness to put down whatever is not serving you and to start looking towards a higher power that can support you on this journey and give you the grace and the faith and the hope that you need during difficult times.
Let's just breathe that in for a second. That's really nice. We started this call by talking about what you do with your clients.
Yeah.
Because I've been in this a couple decades. And when I started, we didn't say the word God or intuition or spirit or source or energy. Yeah. We were marketing strategists, God damn it, or business coaches. We were very masculine. We got shit done, right? And we burned the midnight oil and we neglected our children and all the things, right? And so I understand that, like, sacrificing your life at the altar of your business. I get that. I've lived that. And so let's talk about the challenge of how do you're very driven, you have a successful business. How do you go, and my family's first, or, and I take time? Like, cause I don't think there's a lot of training out there. The training is hustle more, go, achieve, acquire, right? And so let's just spend some time on that one.
Yeah, no, I think that's so important. I support women from the moment they decide that they want to conceive life and bring life into the world. And what does business get to look like then? That's really scary for a lot of women, right? Like a lot of women, I hear so many stories, women coming to me like, I forgot to have a family, or like, I really want a family. Is it too late to have a family? You know?
Wow. Yeah.
Because they had prioritized work so much.
Sure.
So helping women to create space to call that life in, whilst still, and understanding that there can be a both and conversation, you know, like we can have a thriving business and a thriving family life, but we get to get clear on what are your non-negotiables, right? Like, what are your top priorities? Because what I tend to find, particularly with women, in the imbalance of work and family life, or work and their own life, is that things that aren't really a priority start to sneak in and start to eat up all of their time. And then it's like, well, I have no time. Like, you don't understand. I have a family, and I have work, and I have this and I have that. And I'm like, okay, breathe. And when we start to identify, it's like, oh, like, how much time are you spending on social media? How much time are you spending in your email? How much time are you spending responding to clients? You know, how much time are you spending going out with the girlfriends? It's like, you know, I have one particular client I'm thinking of, and it's like, yeah, but that's an important part for me. And I'm like, yeah, but that's taking up a lot of time. And there needs to be an integration, you know, of all the things that are important for you. So I think, you know, if you can get clear on what are actually your top priorities in your life, and even more specifically this year, 2022, what's the top priority for you? Is it to spend more family time? You know, is it to spend more time honing in on a specific skill set at work? You know, for me, for example, I'm actually currently pregnant with my fourth child, a little girl.
Nice. Congratulations.
Yes,
Beautiful.
thank you. And, you know, something that my husband and I agreed on at the moment she was conceived was that we were going to really lay low with everything going on in the world, and really create a nourishing, protective family environment. Anything that comes in that isn't in alignment with that is a no.
Good. So you have a very clear boundary and standard. But so A, you have a supportive husband, and B, you value yourself and you have your why, right? So if somebody doesn't have a why, or if they're not, you know, if a woman's worth or value comes from giving and serving and being available, it's really hard to set those priorities, right? So let's talk about that.
Yeah, totally. I think that, you know, women in general, as a generalization, we're givers. We're innately givers. We're nurturers. We're mothers. We, you know, create life. We nurture life. And so it's firstly to know that it's not the bad thing about you. Like, oh, I'm a giver. No, you know, generosity can't be taught. If you're innately a giver, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing. And really thinking about the gift that you get when you give, how that feels so good. The joy feels so good when you're not allowing others to give to you, or to allow yourself to feel supported. You're depriving others of that joy and blessing that it is to give. And when you like really connect with that and sit with that, like, oh my God, I'm not letting my husband do that, or I'm not letting. And so I think it's like, don't stop giving, but allow yourself to receive more and get clear on, what in my life do I get to delegate out? Like, where am I not really good? And where do I get to ask for support? Because especially if you're an overgiver, you know, people are dying to support you. They need to support you.
You've earned up the credit, right?
They're like, please.
Come on, I gotta level this out. That's really awesome. And I feel like identity gets wrapped up in that, you know, like I had an injury last year. And so I just kind of stopped working for months, and I was really sitting out going, holy shit, like I'm not being productive. I'm not creating, I'm not helping. binging on Netflix, Ted Lasso, and so for you, Malaine, as you're kind of nesting and in hibernation, is there any part, and maybe it's not, but I think for a lot of women, we are what we do and we are who we help and what we create. So how's that dance for you to kind of, that's not your identity, or that's not the prominent identity, right? So talk about that for a second.
Yeah, that's such a great question, because I think that we wrap our identity in certain ways of doingness or in things. And, I had shared with you that I traveled around the world for a little while, and that's how I met my husband down in New Zealand. I'm originally from the States, and I had wrapped my identity so strongly to New York, this glamorous life. I'm just like, I'm a New Yorker. And so
where's the accent? No, you're a New Yorker, right?
I know I was a New Yorker, but I'm from Jersey, so I have my Jersey accent.
Oh, got it. Okay.
But I had wrapped my identity so strongly in this glamorous life with the Louboutins and the handbags and the thing, this and that. And I got that message to release it all, let go of it all. And I was like, ooh, but like, who will I be then?
Yes.
That's really scary. And then I realized that I'm a alpha female, type A, doer, overachiever. And I can wrap myself easily into like the goals or the achievements. Well, who am I when none of that's happening? Right. Who am I when I'm taking a break or on maternity leave? And so I think that it's really edgy. So I'm not like saying like, disidentify with it all, but it's like, if you're finding yourself attached to, well, I'm nothing unless I do this, or I'm nothing unless, it's like, wait a minute, I'm actually worthy and of value, even if I'm sitting around watching Ted Lasso or Bridgerton or whatever it is on Netflix all day. Like, I'm of value just for breathing and being here. And there's actually a little exercise that I'll give all the women that are listening in, or all the audience that are listening in. And the exercise I like to call is an asset list. And something that I constantly say to my clients is like, look, there'll never be enough evidence to prove to you that you are worthy. But if you're going to collect evidence, let's collect the evidence that shows you how worthy and of value you are innately just being here and breathing. And so an asset list is kind of similar to if you were to have someone come assess your home and
valuables, right?
The valuables. Yeah. Oh, there's a pool, there's a porch, there's this, there's that. Yeah. And that's what the asset list is, but for you. So it's like, oh, I overcame bulimia. Check, huge check. I lived in Manhattan. Like, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. Huge check. I graduated high school. I have a bachelor's. I have a master's, all those things, all the challenges you've overcome, all the certifications, degrees, all the things that you easily just go, but everyone has a bachelor's. Right. But everyone graduates high school. But everyone overcomes this. But everyone... No,
it's easy to diminish. Right. So you're bringing awareness to the things we naturally like disregard or diminish. I love that. That is super powerful. Super powerful.
It's so powerful. I just had a few clients actually do this exercise, and like it really just landed for them. Yeah. And they were like, oh my God, I'm amazing. Like I am superwoman, and it really just, I think it gives you permission to realize that you can have days where mastery is just brushing your teeth and getting back into bed.
That's where I was when I had a surgery. Well, I think the first step, Malaine, is you have to be in relationship with the identity piece of it. Because when we're addicted or identifying with, like, I didn't know, because I've done so much work on myself. What? You know what I mean? Like when you're like, holy shit, I still have that. I had no idea. I'm like the queen of self-care. I'm all my feminine energy. I do all the things. But then it was like, interesting. Can I be lovable? I really had to ask the question. And so I had no idea, like, wow, I got a little thing with work and productivity and giving and even just free giving, just creativity and all the things.
Yeah.
So you have to be like, what am I? What am I getting my value from, or my worth is attached to? Inquire, and then do the asset check. Because if you don't understand you have an identity addiction or attraction to something else,
totally.
doesn't matter, you know, because that's what we want it. Like, you want to be fluid. So you can sit and have a baby and get all big and nest and get cozy and love the shit out of yourself, right? Without feeling the little guilty voice that's like, you could send a few more emails, or you could be getting some clients. Like, it's unrelenting. Like, if you're in the identity piece of it, it doesn't stop. Right?
Totally. Yeah. And I always say, like, if you fast forward to the end of your life and you're sitting in like a cozy bed surrounded by all your loved ones, and they're giving you this beautiful send-off, because let's imagine that it's the most beautiful send-off ever. And you're sitting there and you're like, are you going to be, oh, I can't believe I didn't send out those few emails that time when I was on maternity leave. You know, it's like, probably not.
Right. That's a beautiful exercise. Oh, you're just dazzling. I love your energy. And I so appreciate the journey that you have been on, and modeling, you know, all it takes is like, let me be willing. I'm willing. And then listening when it sounded crazy. And it was like you're talking to me, like you did it. Yeah. And then you just took the little first steps, the next steps, and the next steps. And it's interesting in your story, there's and then a woman told me to go here. And then this happened. Like, it's like the trust along the journey to get you here is just exquisite. It's a beautiful journey of trust and, you know, and faith.
Yeah. Trust and faith. And literally that's been the journey of my life since then. And it's just like going to the gym, you guys. You know, first, you don't go in and lift a 20-pound weight. You just start with little small weights and small reps, and then you build up. And that, because that muscle of mine, that spiritual connective muscle to my higher power, had atrophied. You know, my higher power was always there, but how to connect with my higher power, the muscle wasn't real. It was really weak, but the muscle was still there to rebuild, you know? And so it was just taking those little steps and going, okay, I'll trust. Okay. I'll trust again, you know?
I got goosebumps. Well said. All right. So I know you have a gift for our listeners. What did you want to share?
So I am kicking off a Wealthy Woman series. It starts May 1st, and all of you are invited to join. There's going to be an amazing amount of little mini master classes. And again, it's giving you the tools and some resources to really supporting you and having a yummy and delicious relationship to wealth, which isn't just inclusive of only money, health and well-being and vitality and all those other things, so that you can live your most expansive life.
Fabulous. And the link to that will be in the show notes. So anything else before we wrap up? Last words, anything else your heart wants to share with us?
I feel like, you know, the last thing I just want to share is that know that whatever you desire, whatever's on your heart in this moment, it's on there for a reason, because it gets to be lived through you. It doesn't get to die within you. It gets to live through you. And so just have the willingness today to take one step towards it.
Mic drop. Couldn't said it better. That's magnificent. So Malaine, this has been just a delight. And I know you have blessed the listeners. You know, this show is about hope and inspiration. And so I pray that if you have listened to Malaine's story, that something activates within you. It's like there's a reminder, like, wow, you can overcome. You can be led. You can reconnect that muscle. And so I'm going to invite you, send this podcast to a couple friends. Like, just kind of tune in and say, who needs to hear this message? Who needs the reminders that Malaine shared today? So share the podcast. And Malaine, thank you from the bottom of my heart. This was delightful.
Thank you, Therese.
Okay. Peace and blessings, everybody. Bye now.
Bye, guys.
Hey, I really appreciate you listening to that last episode, and I would love to get to know you a little bit more and to get to connect with you on a deeper level. And here's what I suggest. I've got a Facebook group that corresponds with the content of these podcasts. It's called Fiercely Brilliant Women in Business with Therese Skelly. So if you just search Facebook, Fiercely Brilliant with Therese Skelly, you'll find the group. It's a really nice group. It's a small group, and I'm super active in it. Each week, we have a lot of supportive conversations. I share a lot of resources. I do a lot of coaching on the spot, and I would love to have you join me there. So if you like the vibe of this podcast and you want to hang out with a pretty darn cool community of women, join us at Fiercely Brilliant on Facebook with Therese Skelly. Alrighty, peace and blessings, and I hope to see you in the group. Bye now.